Okay. I think last class we started the exception, and we did some basic 2 or 3 programs about exceptions, right? So, any questions from that class that uh, you are able to understand, or do you have any doubts in that? Okay, good. So, I'd like that as no. So, just a recap. So we can handle any sort of exception, something undefined behavior as part of your code. We can write some code to handle it. So the undefined behavior can happen anywhere in your code, and in a from a common place you can write a code to handle them. So that's what we call it as exceptions, exceptional handling part. And the catches, uh, like there is one important property is in the try catch part is there is no type conversion that is done, okay, for catching exceptions. Okay, so the data type that you throw should exactly match. Only then the particular exception is handled. Just because it's an int or just because it's a character, it can go and sit anywhere. Those kind of exceptions will not be handled. The data type should exactly match. Only that part of exceptions, that part of catch it will handle the exact type of exception that has been thrown. And this is limited to primitive data types like int, unsigned int character, double, const char star. So whatever that you see in C, non-structure parts. Okay. So for those primitive data types, this holds true. Okay.
Sir, instead of a character, we can put that string also, right? It will come.
Yeah. If
So
you put a
yeah,
string that becomes const
yeah. In
char star.
mhm.
Okay. So it won't go here. It will come here. So when you
Okay.
write something, you should see what
So
is the data type.
double quoted, right? Yes,
Yeah.
double
If
quoted.
you write this now, so it's a
Hmm.
double quote. What is the data type? Const char star. So that will come here. Though even it
Hmm.
is handling one character which is null, so the data type has been completely changed. Even if you put a single character C, okay, it is going to be 2 bytes. It's an array, const array. So the data type
Okay.
should exactly match. So here, if you see it's a char, here it's a const char star. So that's a preliminary difference. So it should exactly match. So the particular one will be handled. Okay. So apart from this, there are many properties, okay, which are part of this links. I think gigs for gigs is why I refer is I think they have people contributing to this website where good developers contribute, and it is reviewed by many people, and only the content which has most value, right, that comes on top. So that's why I refer this. So you can go first in just exception handling itself. There are 4 subsegments. Okay, we can go through them as well. I think this part we covered. First one. Second one is what type should map. I think the output of protocol is the flow of track. Not this is not required. Second, first property is I think uh, special path. Okay, I think this one, the catching all type of exception. There is no catch for int, so the catch will block. So no matter what, this is the catching all type of exception. I think this we covered. So you can throw in an exception of whatever type. So you can write a generalized or generic exceptional handling code. Okay, you just can just put a triple dot and you can say throw. So that part of uh, exception will be handled here. Okay. So the third part is I think implicit type conversion doesn't happen for primitive data type. So implicit type conversion, as I said, it is nothing but the data type should match. So here you are throwing a character, but if you see, we can think the character can be stored inside this part. The content of a character that holds can be stored here, but this part is not called. So when you throw an exception, it goes to the default part. So because you are trying to catch all types of exception here. Okay, but by any chance, if you have written a catch character type of exception handling, so that part of code will be executed. See, default exception part is called. Next, third one is, I think if for an exception is thrown or not caught anywhere, the program terminates abnormally. I think this also I covered, right? You are throwing an exception and that part is not caught. So here you are throwing an exception of type character and you didn't write a exceptional handling for char type. So your program will terminate. Terminate call before throwing char. I think this we covered in the last class. So fourth part, what does it say? Okay, so this is a property. I think unlike in Java, so what is the fourth property is? So in your code, okay, you can throw an exception of type char, int, or etc., or anything. But the compiler is not gonna give you any warning saying that you are throwing an exception of type char, but you didn't write a catch for char type exception handling. That level of capability is not what C++ have. Maybe the Java will have it. That's what they said. Unlike in Java, in C++, all exceptions are unchecked. That is, compiler doesn't check whether an exception is caught or not. So it is not necessary to specify all uncaught exceptions. So what he is trying to say here is throw pointer there is an int type exception and there is a pointer type exception. They have written a triple dot, which is a common exception. So I think I think this doesn't make any sense for us. Okay, we'll go to the property file. So the property file, what it says is try catch blocks can be nested. So you can nest the try catch blocks. So what it means is you can write a code wherein the part can nest. Just add it.
Inside the nest function, another next. Sorry,
Another try
inside the
catch.
try function, another try function is
Yeah. So
like if nest,
yeah, if nest
if
or
else nest is.
yeah, nest
Mhm.
of if loops. So why we do that is only to check some condition. The way you are trying to handle, right? It differs. So assume you have an int file open part. So you can write a function here which returns in. So assume that you are writing a function. You are writing a function. What it will do? It will just open a file. Here actually you should write a code to open a file. So once you open a file, the file ka unique handle number it will return. So this handle will have that unique file. Okay. So you can write a so you can write a check here like if is equal to 0, Okay. So what I meant to show here is, uh, so assume some you are trying to open a file, star file, which is in some location. Okay. And if the file exists, you are opening it. Okay, you have wrote a code. Uh, code star. If the file exists, you are opening it. So what we can write? I don't want to write the complete code. Okay. So assume that maybe I'll make it something like this itself. If you are not able to open a file, you are throwing an exception. Okay. Next, we can write a code here, read from file is going to take an integer. It's nothing but a file that you have opened. You can write some code here. Hmm. Okay. So what I wanted to see here is, assume you want to write a code wherein you are trying to open a file and read the contents of a file. Okay, opening a file and reading the contents of a file. Okay, so in opening a file, when you try to open a file, you can write a dummy code to open the file, and you can have a function for it. So here you can write some fopen call to actually open the file and read the contents. Okay. I mean, you just write a fopen to just get the handle to write, uh, get the handle to read a file. Okay. Now, if the file open is successful, you would fill up the uh, actually what happens is that file descriptor does gets filled. Okay, but in our case, we are just checking if the file name is correct or not. Okay, the file name is correct. We are just sending one. Okay, which means I am able to open the file. Okay, if the file name is wrong, which means I can't open the file, so I am returning zero. Okay, so in this case, okay, I just opened a file. I passed a valid file name. Okay, so when the file name is correct, it is going to return one. When I say correct, it is just a file. It's just a location where you can have a file. Okay. So if this is successful, it is going to show throw the number as 0. If f open is equal to 0, it is going to throw an integer. And here you can write a code saying, okay, here you can write a code saying invalid file name, invalid file name. Okay, so when you write a code for this, okay, you can write a specific code check wherein you can say that I am not able to handle the file name because your file name is wrong. I cannot open it. So you can give a specific log here. You can add a specific log entry here, like saying that file name is wrong. Okay, so I can copy paste this code and I can show you that section, like how this can happen. Like file open to, now I am going to give a empty string, or it can, I would say, null. Okay, if I am passing null, what will happen? Okay, so in this case, file will get open. It is going to come till here. Okay, and here we are going to do some reading, and it's going to go forward. But the moment I add another function where I'm going to check, uh, trying to open other file name, if the file name is wrong, the checks will throw the check will check and return that the file name is invalid, and it's going to give you some exception, and it's going to end up in the exception part. Okay, but if you the what is the use of the nested part? Okay, in the nested part you can still handle an exception of type int. Okay, but in a different way. Here you want to say the file name is invalid. Okay, but in the nested part you can try for different type of error. Here you are trying to read the contents of file, but the contents that you have read is not matching what you want. Is not matching what you want. Assume that you have a file, inside that you don't want to have zeros. You want to have some valid numbers. Okay, so that is when you can write a different code. So assume you got 0, what you would say? File contents invalid. Okay, so if you want to have some such differentiations, right, you can have a nested part of looping. So when someone says nested, it doesn't mean the try ke andar try. It can be like,
Sir, it is little bit confusing. So can you go through one by one? So
okay,
first you write that
okay,
valid one, and after that you go for that invalid content one.
okay. I'm
So
going
I
to
can understand. Yeah, yeah.
okay. So in the valid part, what we are trying to check is if we are giving a valid name. That's all. Okay. Now we'll test this and see what happens. Yeah, it's got. Okay, I think there are 9 lines. Okay, and save the content. Okay. File contents invalid file name. Now what happened? Uh, mm, Okay, I'll go through it. Okay. So you have a main. Inside that you are trying to do two checks. Check one, file name is correct. Check one, the file name is correct. If the file name is correct, you will go ahead and read the content of it. Okay. The check to what you will do, what you will do, check the contents
So read the content, right?
of
Read the
file.
content.
No, not you are reading it. Data you have
Yes,
read,
yes.
but read करने के बाद, if the content what you read, the file can have integers,
Mm-hmm.
characters, or anything. But assuming it has only integers, okay, and the
Mm-hmm.
content inside the file is 0, you are throwing an exception. You are expecting the content of file to be something else. Okay, in that case. Okay, I'll write this code to succeed as always, and I'll show you the problems. Okay, now you see I compiled the code, I executed the code, I didn't see any errors. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
see any errors. Okay, why? Because here the file name that I have given is correct. Okay, and when I read the file, what is inside the read file? The read file, assuming it has
Integer one.
some code to read. Okay, you are writing some code to read, but by default you are returning one. Okay, it is returning one. So the read contents is filled with one. So this if part didn't pass. Okay, so it came in and executed a code which is not in the catch part. So since everything is fine, this is going good. Okay, now assume somewhere there is a problem. Okay, assume let's start with opening a file part. Okay, opening a file, you are saying let's make the file name as an invalid file name. Okay, let's give a invalid file name. So the file name is null here. Okay, the file name is null here. Since the file name is null, what we can do here, what we might get, we would get an exception
In
saying invalid
invalid file
file
name.
name. That's all. So this is the preliminary exception handle that we do. Okay, but after that, so if you see here, we are throwing an exception of type integer. We are throwing an exception of type integer. Okay. Now inside this part, I assume that there is a sum function. It can be a sum function. You can write this code inside sum function or just like this. Okay, both are same. There is no difference. Okay, so here you are trying to read the contents of a file. Okay, so what happens if this part passes? So I'm able to open the file, but the contents of file is not matching what I need. The contents of file is not matching what I need. So how can I show some different type of error? I'll open to let's just make it. Okay, this won't be the place. So here the file name is correct, but when you are trying to read the content of file, you are returning 0. Okay, the content that you have read is 0. So you are throwing an error of type integer. Now you want a different message to be printed. Okay, so what did you print here? File contents can be invalid. So this is a uh, like this is a way of showing different errors. Like in the same code, I can't write int n, okay, is equal to something. Now, if n comes something else, I would print this error. If n comes something else, I would. I don't want to write a if and else case. Assume that here I am throwing 1, here I am throwing 20. I write a switch case and print different messages that I don't want. Rather, I want to have a specific catch for this part of the code. That is what you can write. Okay. Now, one more part is rethrowing the exception to back to the person who called. Okay. So what does that mean? It's so this can be a caller function. So he's a caller function who is trying to open a file. Okay. I'll put this in a function. So that makes
Sir, for nested try in nested try function, we need to declare a function outside the main
no, you
function, right?
don't need to.
Okay, so inside also you can declare, right?
Why you want to declare? You
No,
want to
no.
declare a function inside where?
Uh, inside the main function, it
So
is
a
not
dummy
possible, right?
lambda function, huh? You can define some
Hmm.
lambda functions.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, we can do that. Okay, but we haven't touched
So
anything with respect to
after this we will do this one. Okay.
lambda functions. We are not covered so far. I didn't want to take it that way.
Okay, okay, no problem. Means I just want to know, means we need to declare outside or not. So that's the thing.
So see, you can write a try catch, second try catch just here or inside
Mm-hmm.
this. So there is no difference, right? You are just calling, the person on the other end gets called. That's all. What is the difference? No, there is absolutely no difference. Whether you are calling a function inside which you are doing a exception handling, or you are calling a function, mean you have a main which does exception handling. Okay. Now you wrote some function which has its own way of handling exceptional handling. Okay. Here you do the exception handling of its own type. But whatever problem that you faced here, you want to throw it back. Okay. So what I wanted to cover here is, so if you see here, right, the file name is correct. The file name is correct. Okay. But some function you are called which is trying to read the content of a file. Here he found some fault and he printed the message. Okay. But he want to throw the problem back to this guy. Okay. He wants to throw the problem that he encountered back to this guy. He can throw it. He can just say throw. Okay. He doesn't need to pass the number that he passed here. He can just say throw here. Let's see in what he can get here. Okay. Now what happens is the exceptions are thrown twice. The exceptions are thrown twice. So you see there are two errors. First error is file contents invalid. What it says is file contents invalid. So where is that part of the error? Is it here? No. In the main, you did this checking. The file name is correct. As per you, this message should not have been printed because the file name is correct. Okay. So you can't say invalid file name. But some operations that you did, right? Some operations that you did on this file name is not behaving as you want. So you did file contents invalid. You did print some message saying that some file contents invalid, but you didn't use the number that you got here. The n number, we didn't use it. Okay, we are just printing. but again you want to throw the same exception again to the person who called. Okay, the person who called him, right? You want to pass the whatever error that you got. You can just say throw, but you don't need to pass a number. Here you see you are passing a number. This 20 will come here, and when you do a throw, the same content will be sent back here. So after some function, nothing will be executed. It will just come up and end up here. And if you see, you will get this message followed by the number that you actually throwed here. But you are not doing any passing of this number. We'll see. See, here it shows file contents invalid, and you got 20, and you got invalid file name. Okay, and you got the number. So this is where we can nest. Like it's like I give you a message, you gave some message to someone, and the message went back to someone, and someone got an error. Okay, now he's replying saying that this message I am not able to process. So the the data, the error is flowing from the last person to the first person. Okay, the person on the other end who faced the problem, okay, he's trying to push back saying that I got this error. So you, that guy is going to return to n minus 1%, then n minus 3%. Like that, it will go to the person from whom it started. You can pass on this exceptions from a last endpoint to the starting endpoint. Am I able to explain this part? What does nesting means in exception?
Yes.
So
By
nesting
switching also switch case also you can do this one,
switch
right?
case you can do, but why you want to do that switch case? It is like that becomes a
Mm,
C code, right?
yes, yes.
That
And
becomes C code. It doesn't make any sense. That,
okay, in two types we can do in switch case or else go to one go to function is there, right?
goto, that is
So
wrong. Never use gotos in C++. If you are using
mhm.
goto, it means you are doing one of the worst part of coding. You are just taking your C part of
Okay,
coding
okay.
style or assembling part of coding to here. Okay,
Hmm.
you are not able to write a proper code. That's what I would say.
Okay, okay.
You're just so nesting means you can pass the bug or the error that you handled at some place to the start. Okay. Now you
Mm.
can say I can write some function. Okay, I can make it some function 2. Okay. Now what will some function 2 call? You will just call some function 1. So you can just nest this. So some function 2 will call some function. You can nest them as much as possible. You can have as many exceptions as possible, and this would work as same. So it is like just passing the error from final called function to the initial caller. So you can pass it as long as you want. Now you throw this exception to this guy, right? To the main.
Sir, here we no need to enter that data type and all, right? Directly it will come that file open. So
S-
int file.
So when you say okay, let me see. Hello. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So when you say you don't need to mention the data type here, you mean here, right?
No, 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 not here. This word sum function 2.
Uh,
So there you have called that sum function 1, right? So
yeah,
here it data type is int, right? Int file open.
correct.
So no need. Uh,
So you are
you
just
have
calling
only
a
mentioned.
function. You are just calling a function. You are passing a parameter. That's all right.
Okay,
This is not
okay.
function declaration. You are just calling a function. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever the value that you got, you are passing here. Okay. See, here you don't need to mention the data type. So whatever value that you
Mm-hmm.
got is going to be passed, okay, to this
Mm-hmm.
guy. So now my question here is, what will happen if I do throw here? Any guesses? Now this is thrown. You are throwing from here. What will happen?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone who is catching it?
Through
I think this I
through
covered in last class.
that mm,
You have a main. Inside that you have one try block, try catch block. From the catch you are throwing. From the catch you are throwing. So is there anyone who will catch it? Is it?
function one only, I think.
Where is function one here? You have main. Function one got
No,
called
function
here.
one is
Some
not
function
there.
got called here. From throw where it will go?
Mm-hmm.
It will not go anywhere. So this will lead to segmentation fault, right? It is equivalent to
Okay.
writing a main which has a simple throw. I think in last class I I told you. So you just have a throw
Mm.
which is out of you just have a throw which is outside a try class block. What will it happen? It will just throw and crash, right? I will demo this. I will demo that part. You have a main.
Okay.
You are just throwing. So what will it happen? See, terminate called after throwing
Call
an
after
exception of
throwing an
type
instance.
int and
Ah,
aborted
okay.
core dump. So this is like crash. This is a crash. Okay,
Uh-huh.
with a warning. Now I remove this part, throw 20. Now I'll return this. Here, what I'm doing, I am again throwing this part. So now this throw is not under a try class block. Is there a try on top of it? Try or catch on top
No.
of it? No. So this code should also crash. See, so
Mm.
you got an initial error, file contents invalid, then again invalid file name, then terminate called after throwing an instance of int. So isn't the behavior same? The behavior is same. So it is nothing but you should catch. You should write a catch for all the throws that you are writing. Else the behavior is undefined. So the crash will happen. Is your right code. Okay. Am I clear with this nested part? Nested part is nothing but passing the error from an last catch to the initial catch or somewhere in between till anywhere you want. That's all. So you are whatever the bug that you found here, okay, you throw it back to this guy. That's all. But he's not passing it back. That's all. I can write one more try catch block here. Okay, and say catch. Now this become nested ka, nested. So here I can say throw. Now this part will be handled here. Or I can say final catch. What did I miss? Okay. See, you got file contents 20, invalid contents, and final catch. So you are nesting 3 try catches here. 1, 2, 3. 3 catches. You are able to pass the bug that you found here, the error code. You are able to pass the error code that was thrown initially or nested via nesting. Okay, am I clear, Sakalya or Lipsa, on this?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now let's see what is the other property is going to talk about. Okay, okay. So the part is, so when an exception is thrown, all the objects created inside the try block are destroyed before the control transferred to the catch block. So what it means is, assume that you have classes, okay, which can be created inside a try block, okay. And when some exceptions happens, you don't need to bother about whether the object gets destroyed or not. The compiler will put a code to destroy them, okay. But this holds good for any variables that are created on stack but not on heap, okay. So let's try this example to understand. So I have given this file RAI. I think RAI means resource allocation and initialization, some initializations or something. Like the objects are destroyed in a way they have been created. Okay. So what is the object that you created here? Test, an object of type test. Now what is test? Test is a class. Okay. Now inside test, if you see, it is just having a constructor. So when you write this code 18, okay, the constructor is called. Okay. Now you wrote a code to do a throw. When you do a throw, what will happen? It will come here and get caught. Okay, it will come here and get caught, and the object also get destroyed. The test object that you created here also gets destroyed. Okay, so all this facility it is given by what should I say? The C++ compiler. Okay, now we'll test this part to understand. Let's save this file.
So for this destructor, virtual keyword is not required, right? Directly
We
it is
can
happening.
we can write, but not required
Okay, right.
because we are not using
Okay.
pointers here.
Yeah.
If you are using
Mhm.
pointers, it might need. So if
Okay.
you see the sequence, constructor, destructor, followed by caught. Constructor, destructor, followed by caught. So if you check the sequence, here the object got created, and the moment you throwed, it came here. Okay. Before it came here, the destructor of this got called, of this object got called, and it got destroyed. And this got destroyed. Then you got the caught caught part. Okay, the error, the final error that got displayed. Yeah. Okay, but this holds good for all the objects that you created on stack. Okay, what if I create this on heap? Heap means if I am creating this object using a new operator. So I created this on new with the help of new. Now the object gets created and sits on heap. Okay. Now will the destructor be called for this? Will the destructor be called for this? No. Why? because that is not an object. See here, that you created on stack. Compiler will not bother putting a destructor for it. Compiler will not bother putting a destructor for it. If you see here, destructor is called in the previous code. Now in the latest code, the object is not destroyed. Okay. Now this will lead to memory leaks. So you should write code to destroy them. So we'll try to destroy that object. Okay. So I just created a pointer here. I try to initialize it with something. Then here I can write the delete for it. Delete t1. Okay. Now the object gets destroyed. So what I meant to show in this case is, see, it is exception handling is similar to function returning, almost similar to function returning. But you should write code for destroying objects or releasing any files or releasing message queues or anything with respect to IPCs or resources that you acquire, right? On the back end, or that is part of your code, you should write a code to destroy them or release them as well. Okay. So what you did here is you constructed the object and you throwed an exception. The exception is caught, but since the object is created on heap, you should write the corresponding destructor for it. Okay, you should write the corresponding destructor for it. Am I clear clear on this, guys? Any doubt on this property 6? Like,
It's clear.
okay. So why that? Because see, you have a scope here, right? If you see, the scope is written here. Okay. So anything that is within the scope is created inside the scope and destroyed inside the scope itself. Okay. So that's the reason in the previous instance the T was created and destroyed here, and then the catch ka error you would have seen. I'll show you that. See here, constructor destructed and then caught. Constructor destructor and then you see the exceptional part, because the scope started here and ended here. But what is the scope of this object? It is till the end. So you have access to destroy it as well. Okay, now let's see if there is any other property. Okay, so that's a properties that they wanted to explain here. Okay, limitations. I think limitations break structure of flow. I think this is some theory. Okay, so we not want to go. Next one is exception handling using classes in C++. Okay, so what it meant is, like, you can pass exceptions of any data type. Like, you can throw an integer, you can throw an class also as an argument, as a type of exception. We'll not go through this. We'll write a simple program. Okay, so enter a number. We took this part, right? We'll not go through this. Okay, so I can declare a class of I can declare a simple base class. Okay, inside that I can have a string. We can do RTTA. Will not get into too much of complication. Okay, you guys are familiar with RTTA, right? Okay, so I can create a class. Okay, and I can throw an exception of type this class. So I can just create an object like set. What is happening here? Okay, and I can say obj. It's up. So I can create a class object, and if something is wrong, okay, do some code, and you feel something is not correct, then you can just throw this object itself. You can just throw this object, and you can write a catch for this type. I can just write a catch for this type. Okay, so you don't the C++ doesn't limit you to throwing exceptions of primitive data types. You can throw class ka objects itself. You can throw class ka objects itself, and you can handle such types of uh, what should I say? Such type of exceptions handling also. So we'll check this part. Okay. See here, a dot out. I What did I do? I throwed an object, not a primitive data type. I throwed a derived data type, or not derived. I throwed a user defined data type. What are user defined data types? Structures and classes. They are my user defined data types. So structure or class I can throw. So whatever object that I throw, it got caught here, and I printed the exact type itself. Okay. Now one more part is, okay, once I throw, can I access the contents of them? Okay, can I access the content of objects that I created, or can I find the data type and all? Also, we can handle it. Now, what I mean, so far, any doubts on this? Like throwing object of type class. Sakalya, you have any doubt on this? Throwing an object of type any class?
No, no.
Yeah. Now we'll see. Can we uh, do some RTTA here? Can you do some magic? Okay, we'll see. So magic means, assume I have a derived class. Okay, which is derived from some base class. I have a derived class which is derived from base class. Now, should I write? Now, should I write one more catch? How to avoid them? Also, we can go through. Okay. Now I wrote a code to catch derived object. Okay. Now we'll get an error for error. Catch. Exception error class will be caught by earlier handler itself. Okay. So what he is trying to say is, you have a base class, you have a derived class, you have a base class, you have a derived class, and you throwed an error of type derived class. Okay, but when you compile it now, it is showing, okay, derived class exception of type derived class will be caught by earlier handler itself, will be handled by earlier handler itself. What it means is, no matter how many catches you write, okay, no matter how many catches you write, the base type class, if you have one entry, that guy will catch it. This part will never get executed. We'll just test this. See, I got an error of type exception base class. What did I get? Exception base class. But what is the object that I wrote? Is it base or derived? It is derived. But the base got called because compiler is trying to do that. He's trying to give you that polymorphic capability or some uh, additional feature he is trying to give, wherein you don't need to redo this part and all. So this part is essentially not required. This is one additional feature or key feature which C++ gives you if you have this classes or derived classes that you have. Okay, you can just catch them. Okay, catch using the base class itself. Now I just removed this. Okay, now I am compiling. See, I didn't get any error and I got exception base class message. Okay, now you can ask me, can I remove this? Yeah, you can remove this and you can retain it. Now this get compiled because you didn't write any exceptional handling for base class. Now what will happen? You will get error message for derived class. Okay, am I clear, Sakalya, Lipsa on this? So
Yeah,
I will,
means if you go for that base class, no need to go for that derived class.
yeah. So
Right?
if you write an exception handling part, the catch part for a base class,
Mm,
that's enough. You don't
mm.
need to write catches for derived instances. So I'm retaining here base and derived, and I am compiling here. So I'm getting a warning. See, warning, exception of type derived will be caught by earlier handler. Okay, not of type base class. You don't, and the contents of this only will be handled. This is what C++ does. Okay, you can't enforce him to do this by and keep both. If you don't want this to be called, you can just comment this part and
Means simultaneously we can't go for that base class and derived class.
yes.
Only you can go for the base class or derived class.
If you
Any other
want to do
means.
simultaneously means you need to write a X nested loop here. Here I'll write a X nested loop, try section here.
Mm.
Inside that,
Another try.
yeah,
More.
another catch,
Mm.
catch of type derived or this part. You can do something like this. I got. Now what it will do? It will throw this. Now you can do your nesting part also here. Exception handled on derived. Now I do a throw. Now what you should see? What is the error that you should see? Can you tell me what should be the output of this code? So you have a try. Here you are not doing anything. Okay, everything is inside that you wrote. You have one more try. You just created a derived object and you throwed error of type derived. So this try catch has only one type of catch. So this error will be printed. Okay. Now you are
Exception
throwing
derived
the
class.
exception of derived is printed. Now you are throwing the same thing again back. Now who will handle this throw? Who will handle this throw?
The base class.
Yeah, so you have the first try catch section. So whatever you throw here, it will go to the first try catch part. So it will come to the base class part.
Base class.
So
Yes.
so you can have both the exception, this one and this one now. You see this. So now you see you don't see any error. You're not getting any error. Okay, earlier you got
Yes.
error because you are writing catch base and catch derived in same levels. Now you split it. Okay, now you saw exception derived and exception base, exception derived and exception base. So C++ is giving you this, the base class, and what made this, I wouldn't call this as polymorphic, or this is like function overloading, or what exception overloading. I can say this is like exception overloading or overriding. Maybe it is giving something like similar to that exception overriding part, where a base class exception can handle derived class exception also. Okay. Now I'll just comment this throw part, and we'll see we'll only get one error because you are not throwing this error back. You are not using the nesting part. See, you are getting only one error, exception of type derived. Earlier you got exception derived and exception base. Since you throwed and caught here, and that is what nesting part, you just removed the nesting feature. Now you only got derived error. Am I clear on this part, guys?
Yes. So what is the use of this one? Means character and integer. This catch. These
This
two
is dummy.
catches.
This is dummy. I just
Dummy, right?
this,
Yeah, it
yeah,
is not required. So then,
it is not
yeah.
required in this example. I just copied and pasted.
Mm.
That's
Mm. So that's why everything is printing that base class and derived class on it.
now. So this is what they have. Stack unwinding. This is something else. Okay, this has nothing to do with this part. Okay, that is all I had for exceptional handling part and all. So one more thing can be, you can pass ampersands and pointers also. You can pass by pointers also. Okay, you can take the references of the objects also. Okay, it is same, there is no difference. That maybe you can find out, okay, yourself if you try. Okay, any more questions on this, guys? In exceptions, you guys are clear, right? So maybe I'll do a
Yes.
recap what I did today. What did I start with? Exception nesting. I think yesterday we tried to do the matching part. I think type matching, wherein what type of object you throw, the particular catch you should write. For primitive data types, the data types should exactly match. If you don't want to write entries for each and every data type, you can generalize by writing triple dot. Okay, but whereas here for exceptions of type uh, derived data type, okay, wherein you can have a base class and derived class, you can just write exception of type base class itself. Okay, and inside that you can write the code and handle it. Okay, for all types of exceptions that you are trying to throw on classes, or classes of different types based on derived types. Okay, that's one. Next one is Right, exception right, or how does the objects gets destroyed which are part of your try catch block? So try catch blocks comes with a scope resolution. So whatever objects that you are creating inside that on stack, they get destroyed even before the catch is called. So the moment you throw an exception, the corresponding destructors are called. Okay. But if you have an object that is created on heap using a new and all, new or malloc or anything, so it is your responsibility to write the corresponding delete operation for that. Okay, so you should free these objects. It's not just limited to variables on heap. You can have file handles and all. All those file handles or queue handles or anything that you create on inside a try catch block, you should make sure they are deleted or released. Okay. And nesting part. Nesting is a concept wherein you can pass the exception that you handled at a particular place to its previous part. So you can nest them. So assume this is a function which is throwing an exception, which got an exception of type int. Okay, and it did its error printing or whatever diagnostics that it wants to do, he did, and he wants to throw back the error to previous caller. So it came to here. So he did his cleanup or his error printing, and he can throw it back again. So he did his cleanup. Okay, and if he's interested, he can throw back, or else he can dilute here itself. So he can dilute the problem here itself. But even if this guy throws back, and since there is no one is handling in the main, the exception that you uh, throw at the final try catch block, the app is going to crash. Okay, that's a behavior of the code of exceptions in a loop part. Okay, I think that's what I had. Anything more? Any more doubts on this? Okay, maybe I'll take that as a no. Thank you guys. I'll push this code and push both the videos up. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.